Hi guys, we are starting Unit 10, the Special Senses and Skin Unit. So in Lesson 10, let's click on that. And in that, we are going to go over these two PowerPoints. So Integumentary System PowerPoint, Skin Deep, Chapter 10. It goes with your medical terminology workbook. And then we're going to go over Eyes and Ears PowerPoint, Seeing and Hearing, which is Chapter 14 in your medical terminology workbook. You also have these questions to do that goes with both of those chapters in your medical terminology workbook. If you don't have your workbook saved to your desktop, it is at the beginning of this course. It's up in there, and you can look at it there. All right, so let's head into Chapter 10. All right, so Skin Deep, Chapter 10. The integumentary system consists of the skin and its appendages. So the appendages include glands, hair, fur, wool, feathers, scales, claws, beaks, horns, hooves, and nails. The function of the integumentary system. So the skin plays a role in protecting the animal from infection, waterproofs the body, prevents fluid loss, provides species-specific coloration, and provides a site for vitamin D synthesis. So we need that sunlight coming in to help with vitamin D. So very important for all of our reptiles and stuff to be getting that UVB, UVA light through the skin to help with that vitamin D synthesis. It helps prevent metabolic bone disease and stuff like that. Skin covers the external surface of the body and is composed of epithelial tissue. Some of the combining forms you'll hear is cutane for like cutaneous, derm. You've had that in your medical terminology, and dermat, doormat, skin covering. Skin is made up of 3 layers. You will have to know these 3 layers. So if you want to jot them down, I would do that. Or if you print out your study guide, there's a section in there for you to fill that out. So the epididymis is the more superficial layer. So epi means a P upon the top. So epidermis. Then you're going deep now towards the bone. So it's epidermis on the top, dermis, and then the subcutaneous layer. So those are the 3 layers of the skin. You will need to know those. Here is a picture, a diagram. So you have the epidermis, I said the most superficial layer at the top there, over here. And then you have the dermis, which is the middle layer, which is right here. It contains the blood, lymph vessels, nerve fibers, and accessory organs. So you definitely know when you get cut and it reaches that dermis layer, because you have the blood vessels, and you have the pain, the nerves that are there. And then you have the subcutaneous layer below that. It's the deepest layer that contains connective tissues. So it's connecting it to the muscle layer below that. And we saw a lot of that when we were dissecting our rabbits. Skin glands may be either sebaceous or sweat glands. The sebaceous glands secrete an oily substance called sebum. The sweat glands secrete sweat. Hair is rod-like fibers made of dead protein cells filled with keratin. So hair follicles are sacs that hold the hair fibers. The distal phalanges or phalanx of animals is covered by nails, claws, or hooves. Nails and claws contain keratin plates in dogs and cats. Hooves are the horny covering of the distal phalanx in ungulates, such as horses, ruminants, and swine. And you can see a picture of that undulant of a horse right here, and the parts. So you see the frog here, and when we're cleaning out the horse's hooves, we clean around the frog here. The frog is the sensitive part, and then the heel bulbs back there is also sensitive, but they really can't feel here this part of the sole of the horse's foot. Pads are thick area of keratinized epithelium. Dogs and cats have digital pads and metacarpal and metatarsal pads. So metacarpal pads would be on the front legs, metatarsal pads would be on the hind legs. Livestock have walls of the hoof, the soles, and the bulbs. So the walls of the hooves are this outer portion here. The soles are inside here, and then the heel bulbs are back here. So the walls, the soles, and the heel bulbs. So in porcine pigs, bovine cow, equine horses. And that is it for the skin. Let's move on to the next one, which is chapter 14. So we're moving on to chapter 14, seeing and hearing. The ocular system is responsible for vision. The combining forms for the eye or sight is opti, opto, optic, ocul, ophthalm. Structure of the eye, the accessory structures of the eye, the orbit, which holds the eye, the eye muscle, which helps to move the eyelids and palpebra help to protect the eye, keep it moist. Eyelashes help keep dust from the eye. The conjunctiva, which is that pink portion around the eye, and lacrimal apparatus, so the tear ducts that help to clear the eyes if some debris get on them. The structure of the eyeball, you have the sclera, which is the outer layer. This transparent anterior portion of the eye is called the cornea. The choroid, which is the middle layer, it consists of blood vessels, the iris, the pupil, the lens, the ciliary body. The retina is the inner layer, the nervous tissue that receives messages and sends them to the brain. So here's a picture of that, the retina over here, the choroid, the sclera, the whites of the eye. You have the cornea here. Then you have the pupil, the iris, which is the color part of the eye. Vitreous humor is inside here. And you have the muscles, and then the orbit surrounds the eye, and the optic nerve back here with the blood vessels and nerves. The eye is divided into two parts. So you have the anterior segment containing aqueous humor, the anterior chamber, the posterior chamber. And then you have the vitreous chamber contains vitreous humor. So the anterior chamber here, which is in front of the lens, and then you have the vitreous chamber back here, which is behind the lens. Now on to the function of the ear. The ear is the sensory organ that enables hearing and helps to maintain balance. If you have an animal that has an ear infection, a lot of times they'll tilt their head because their equilibrium is off. Sometimes when you have an ear infection, you feel a little off balance, and that's because of the eustachian tube and the fluid that's in there. The combining forms for sound and hearing, you guys have had these in your medical terminology: acousto. All right, the pinna is the outer portion of the ear, and it catches the sound waves and transmits them down the external auditory canal. So animals that have those upright ears, you can really, like if you cup your hand behind your ears, you can definitely feel or hear the difference between just your regular ears. If you cup your hands behind there, it picks up a lot more of the sound waves. So, if you're saying, what was that? And you put your hand behind your ear, you're actually picking up more of those sound waves. So the external auditory canal is the tube that transmits sounds from the pinna to the tympanic membrane, which is the eardrum. The auditory ossicles, malleus, incus, and stapes, sorry. Tympanic membrane is the eardrum. It transmits the sound waves to the ossicles. Tympano or myring, you guys remember myring from the medical terminology, that is eardrum. Eustachian tubes, we talked about those. If they do become inflamed or filled with fluid because of an ear infection, that can cause problems with pressure in the middle ear and also balance. The oval window, the round window, tympanic bulla, and that's a chamber inside the middle ear. The bony labyrinth, there's a vestibule, which is the entrance or the beginning, and that is helps with balance and equilibrium. The semicircular canals, the three canals that regulate equilibrium, balance, and that homeostasis. And then the cochlea, which is the organ of hearing, and it's that kind of snail-looking type thing in the ear. So right here, the cochlea has that snail-like appearance. All right, that is it for the PowerPoint. Some things I do want to make sure that I say to you. So when we're talking about the skin, the integumentary system is the exterior covering of the body, and it is essential for regulating body temperature, balancing water, and protecting internal organs. The skin is an essential organ of an animal's health because it is the external barrier between internal organs and the environment. So I would suggest that you guys, when you're going through this unit, that you complete the questions here, that you go over the predator versus prey placement PowerPoint. You watch the Cherry Eye videos and read the article and answer those questions. I also have a picture of a dog's cataract and a link to a doctor talking about cataracts in dogs and cats. We have the interactive vision PowerPoint here, along with the questions that go with it. And then definitely in their study materials here, we have the Quizlet over the word wall, the terminology from this unit. We also have the Quizlet over special senses and study guide, and then here is your study guide. If you are able to print that out, I would do that. If not, grab paper and a pen and start jotting down the stuff that's on that. It would behoove you to do that because it will help you greatly on the test that is in Unit 10, Special Senses and Skin, that you will be taking. So please make sure that you utilize all the stuff in here, do all the assignments, and I'm sure you'll do great on the test. Thanks for listening.